Hope everyone's doing okay. Is this live? I don't even know if anyone's watching. What have we got? Let's go. Seems to be live. Let's go. Seems to be live. Let's go. Let's have some fun, guys. Oops. Just sharing the link. Okay. Hello, 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 everyone. We are in the studio. That's right. This is the room where we recorded Endoscopy, Velvet Sky, both songs that hopefully you've heard, and all the rest of the upcoming album. Infirmity comes out on the 19th for some reason. Sorry, I'm really tired. On the 14th of November, we are doing an album launch at King Lear's Throne on that day. So please, if you're in Brisbane and you like what you've heard from us, come on down to that one. We'll be having a good old time. A number of awesome other bands playing as well. So should be a good afternoon / evening of music. So I know a lot of the other streams that we've done so far has just been hanging out, shooting the shit while I played some games. But I thought, today we might do something a bit more, relevant, I guess, to the band, and give you guys a little bit of a look around the studio. It will be with the webcam there, so apologies if it takes a little bit to focus on anything. But let's see how we go, huh? So, I will also apologise. Things are a little bit of a mess in certain parts of the studio right now, but that's okay. The studio doesn't need to be clean and tidy, it just needs to work. So, I've got, a few things set up around the place. Basically, as you can see behind me here, a few guitars hung up. If you've been to our shows, you'll recognise that bass right there. It's the main one I use live. It is a Mexican-made Fender Jazz. Obviously been sticker bombed, because why not? Bit of fun, right? A couple of other ones I've got up there. Warwick Thumb, obviously. That was one I use more for metal stuff, rather than the more sort of grunge rock centric stuff that we're doing in Skunkbone. But it's an amazing bass, really gets the job done. The neck's like a fucking baseball bat. It's really solid, really just gets a nice growl out of it. I definitely, if you're a bass player playing any kind of metal, it's well worth looking into getting one for your collection there. And the other one that's right behind me, I'll actually grab. This is one of my newest ones. It is, actually I backed it on Kickstarter. It is a Kloss bass. And the idea, Kloss make transport friendly instruments. So they actually make a carbon fiber acoustic guitar with a detachable neck, so that you can just detach it, fold it away. It's way easier for travel. It's really light. The carbon fiber body makes it super strong, and really, really awesome. I think that's great. I haven't bought one personally, but I've seen quite good reviews on them. And when I saw they were launching a project for an electric guitar, electric bass with a carbon fiber neck, I thought that sounds like a really good idea. It's really, really light. A little bit weird shaped in some places. You can see the head's quite small on it. The neck kind of has this weird thing where it gets to the 24th fret and just keeps going with like nothing there. But it's really, really good as a backup bass for live stuff because it's really light. Doesn't add much weight to what you've got to cart around, and also just good for a practice bass, practicing at home. You know, if you don't want anything particularly heavy. But yeah, this is my most recent one, and I thought that was a nice, nice little pickup. Sounds pretty good too. It's got some nice versatile sounds on it. Which is, you know, it's a good option for a bass that you want. It's a backup, you know, you can use it for backups for all sorts of stuff and it gets the job done. What else have we got? What else have we got in here? So, if the camera will cooperate, if the cable will work, I'm going to give you guys a peek here. So this is the pedal board that we use for recording bass and my live rig as well. The overdrive pedal that I used for the album was slightly different, but as you can see here, it's now a Fender Trapper bass distortion. It's a nice dual channel distortion, allows me to get quite a lot of sounds there. And I really do like as well that Ampeg preamp. That's a big part of my sound. Gets a really, really nice big sound on the bass. It just helps it be a lot warmer, rounder, and fill up a lot more of that sonic space, which hopefully shines through on the album and on live performances. Other than that, I don't really use much in the way of to affect my sound. Obviously got like a compressor there, and a noise suppressor just to try and tighten the tone up there, but really beyond that I don't use those too heavily. But the really good thing I've found about using that, I'll put you back up here, something I have found that I like about using that setup is that setup actually really allows me to carry my tone anywhere I go. Excuse me, I just ate, so but yeah, like that board setup allows me to take my tone wherever I go. So I can plug into, you know, most amps of reasonable quality and still sound like me, which is important. I mean, it's important to me as a musician to be able to sound like me whatever I'm playing, wherever I'm playing. That's worthwhile, I think, endeavor, because you know, you can go to a venue, you don't know what kind of amp you're going to have necessarily. They might have a backline that they're insisting on you using, or you might be amp sharing and have to use something that you don't normally use that can color your sound a lot. But I find especially that Ampeg preamp, because that I believe is actually a channel strip off one of the Ampeg combo bass amps that they do. So it's actually gives a lot of that sound to what I'm playing, and just really allows me to, as I said, carry that sound with me wherever I go and always sound like me regardless of what amp I'm playing through, which is important because I think if you're, you know, especially if you're on tour, you're playing different venues with different bands, you always want to try and sound like you, and it helps out sound guys. If you've got a regular sound guy, helps them know what they're going to be dealing with as well. Alright, what else? What else can I show you? The guitars that we used for recording on the album were actually Corey's guitars. He's got, you know, a couple of quite nice tellies. Got a couple of really nice tellies there, so we use those for recording on the album, and they really help to get that sound there. The guitar was actually recorded through a Line 6 Pod Go, which is essentially the modern version, or an updated version of a portable pod system from Line 6. I know everyone looks at Line 6 pod and they freak out. It's not one of those little red kidney bean things. It's basically like Line 6 has this massive rack mount unit. It's like $3,000 or whatever, and it's got all the really high-end impulse responses, amp sims, effects. You can build all kinds of stuff. You can have stereo sounds on there. You can have multiple outputs. You can do the whole thing. It's a really, really fancy unit. Unfortunately, a little bit out of my price range for what I would normally be using, because I don't, being a bass player, I don't really play a lot of guitar. But it was very handy to get something like this for recording guitar, for when I do need to play guitar and stuff. And this is basically just like a mini version of that. Even though it's shares a name with the old Line 6 pods, it's nothing like those ones. It's all the effects, the amp sims, the impulse responses, all that stuff is the same algorithms and the same units as what is in that $2,000 unit. It's just the physical unit itself is scaled back. So rather than being made out of a metal case, it's made out of a plastic case. Rather than having, like a shit more outputs than you could ever know what to do with, it's got, more limited outputs. It doesn't have a microphone cable like an XLR out. It's only got a line out. But that works. Like most venues are fine. When we played the Sunshine Coast last Friday, they were fine with us running that for live. We were straight out of, Corey went from his pedal board into that with a nice amp sim on a Fender Twin, straight into the desk. So it's been a very reliable option. All the guitars you can hear on the album were recorded through it, and I don't think it's compromised much at all. Hopefully you've heard Endoscopy and Velvet Sky already. It's the same, like that's what we had on everything. So it's come through quite nicely, and I see no reason why we probably won't use it on the next album as well, whenever that comes around. We've managed to achieve quite a decent setup, quite a nice competent recording, I think anyway. And I'm really, really excited for us to get the album out. I'm really excited for us to be able to share all the rest of the songs with you guys. If you've come to shows, you've heard them all anyway. But to get that album out there, it's going to be hopefully really received as well as the first few songs have. It's especially daunting for me because we recorded it here. This is my place. We recorded through my setup. I did all the mixing and the producing and everything on it. I did the mastering, which I'm not going to lie was terrifying because I've not really taken on that challenge before. But I think the album is fairly strong in terms of production, given what it cost us to make, and hoping that one comes through. In terms of newer toys, other new acquisitions on there, we have got for the next album. Oops, showing my titties there. Oh, just wobbled my titties on the internet. What am I doing? So, in terms of guitars for the next album, we have got one of these bad boys. So it's the Ibanez Artcore semi-hollow body. Gives a really, really warm sound, this one actually. I find this is really, really nice for recording cleans, even the mildly overdriven stuff. You could realistically, this actually works even for heavier sounds. Just got to stack some layers up to get yourself there. But I actually, Zach, our drummer, if you don't know, used to play guitar in the previous band I was in with him, Acid Nymph, and he came into possession to one of these, and I really, really enjoyed it. I really liked it. The sound is awesome on it, so I thought, we'll get one, and then we'll use that for Skunkbone for recording. It's a really, really good studio guitar, I find, for this. It's got a nice, malleable sound. but it's a nice clear sound as well. You can really do a lot with that when you're, starting with something so clean. It gives you a lot of range and a lot of options to build from there. So this is definitely going to feature heavily on the next album whenever we start recording that one. But let's get the first one out of the way first. But I think this one's going to go quite nicely on there. I think, now that I think about it, we might even have used it for some parts of Infirmity. I think I had it in time for that, and we might have done some of the cleans and the leads. That's right, we did the leads on this one as well. So that's definitely going to be on the next album. And then we've got something a touch more experimental. Well, I think it's experimental anyway. That we're going to have some fun playing around with, which is this bad boy. Now this is a Squier Classic Vibes Bass 6. It's called a Bass 6, but it's a baritone guitar, 30-inch scale length, and very heavy strings, very heavy strings. So this is designed to be tuned an octave down from a standard guitar, and it is very, very heavy strings. I mean, it's a 30-inch scale length. The E string is a 92, I believe, and it just gonna be playing around with this to get some warmer sounds, some thicker sounds. Not entirely sure how we're going to really utilize it just yet, I'm not gonna lie, but we're gonna do some experimenting with it, have some fun. Now I've got it set with a tone right now that is not something we're going to be using, but for playing around and having a little bit of fun, so I hope that came through okay. But yeah, lots of fun to be had with that one. But yes, obviously not with the huge fat genty tone. But I think we can utilize that with some clean sounds and see how we go with the next album. What else have we got? What else can I show you guys? So in terms of the vocals, what did we use? Let me check the cabinet. Let me check the cabinet here. So the vocals that we did for the album were recorded on these two microphones. So first up, we had the Rode NT2A. Now, this microphone has completely changed the way I record vocals, I should say. I picked it up a few years ago and it's been amazing. The clarity you can get from this thing, if you are running with a home studio and you only can buy one microphone, this one. Get this microphone. The amount of options it gives you, you've got multiple, I'll see if I can hold it up there. So you've got multiple pickup patterns on it. You've got a roll-off option for your low end, and it's actually got a pad. Try and focus on the damn thing. It's actually got a pad here, which you can see I've got it set to -5 dB. You can set it to -10. I feel that's a little bit drastic, but it depends what you're doing. If you're doing screaming and you're really getting up close to it, you might want to have it on the -10, just to soften what you're doing with it. But yeah, you can utilize this for a whole bunch of stuff. So the pickup patterns are a really good option as well. Like I said, it's standard, it's got that cardioid on there, but you can do a figure eight, or you can do omnidirectional. And if you know anything about what the proximity effect, you'll know that omnidirectional is great for counteracting that. If you've got a limited space, just do be mindful that if you've got anything else making any noise in your studio, in your space where the vocals are being recorded, it will pick that up. The other microphone that we used in tandem was a Heil PR35. Now this is probably a bit more of a live mic really, but we wanted to capture some of that more raw energy of the live performance, because that's what it's about a lot of the time. You want to make sure you're capturing that vibe, that you know, those what do they call it? What's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word right now, but you want to ensure you're capturing that live energy, you know, that vibe that you'd get with a live performance. A little bit of that rawness always comes into it, especially with the kind of music that we've done here. You know, yes, it's quite polished, but the production is also a worthwhile endeavor. So we want to make sure it sounds clear and we get the sound that we want, while also having a little bit of that dirt in there as well. So this one is really, really good for that. It's more or less, it's like an SM58, right? Basically the same kind of thing. Key difference with this is the porting on it. The porting is positioned differently to what it is on a 58, because this was actually designed with the intent of being an uncuppable microphone. You know, I'm sure if you've been to any live performance, you've seen the lead singers holding the microphone like this, putting it right up here so they can't get, you know, and if you know anything about sound production, you know that cupping the microphone is insta-fail. You know that's a big, big problem. That's only if cupping the mic blocks the porting, which creates the pickup pattern. So pickup pattern I showed on those other microphones there, for those who may not be aware, using special porting on a microphone, you can basically block the sound coming from certain directions. So most live microphones, they'll pick up more from in front, and they'll be designed to pick up not much from behind. Okay, now if you've got certain ports around the back of the microphone here that facilitate that kind of setup, and someone grabs the microphone and covers those ports, you're fucked. It turns it into omnidirectional, which means it picks up all directions evenly. And if you've got, you know, whereas if I'm not cupping it, it's not coming from behind here, and if I'm live, I've got a monitor, like a vocal monitor, pointing back at me here. So that pattern would prevent most of the sound coming out of the monitor going back into the microphone, which causes feedback. If you cup the microphone and stop that, and it's picking up all directions equally, behind it, you're going to be getting that monitor sound coming through. Now I will say, this is gross oversimplification. There's way more to it, but this is just a little bit of background on this microphone to give you an example. SM58, one of the most commonly used microphones in music, that's going to have that problem if you grab it like that. This one has been designed so that if you do grab it like that, you're not blocking as much of that porting, so it doesn't affect it nearly as much. This is supposedly an uncuppable microphone. In addition to changing it to omnidirectional and mucking with the sound like that, it also changes how the microphone sounds, which is another big bugbear for sound guys and recording and everything. So, but that's by the by. But that's the reason I got this one, is because it's an uncuppable microphone. But really, really good for getting a lot of those live nuances, a lot of those little, just those characteristics of a voice that sometimes get produced out of music, you know, a lot of the character of the voice, whereas, you know, having a layer recorded with this, so literally in tandem, we just had like, you know, one mic up and the other mic up right there and recorded it and had them mixed together, which is how we did all of the vocals on it. Every layer of vocals was the two layers like that. which, again, we think it's turned out pretty good. Have a listen to what we've got out there already. I'm sure once the album comes out, you'll be able to listen to the rest. And, but yeah, those are the two microphones I used, was the Rode NT2A and the Heil PR35. If you're a sound guy and you're looking for a microphone that can't be cupped, the Heil PR35. If you're a singer that likes to cup the mic and you're sick of sound guys getting up your ass about it, get yourself one of these. It's not perfect. It's not the ultimate solution. Really, you still shouldn't be cupping it. But if you're insisting on cupping the microphone, one of these will help a lot. And it'll stop you sounding shit when you do it, because it does fuck up your sound. What else have we got? So vocals, we'll keep on vocals then, we'll stay on vocals. So since we recorded that last album, I have picked up another microphone, which is this one. And this is another Shure microphone, so the same company that makes the SM58. And this is the, let me try and get this one right, the SM7B, I think now. This one might be familiar to you. If you've watched stuff like Joe Rogan or whatever, or a lot of radio stuff, a lot of podcasters, if they put them up on YouTube as well, a lot of them will use this, because this is a great microphone for getting in close. It's a really good microphone, so you can get right in close on it. And if you're talking with this, if you're just doing talking, this microphone's really, really good, because it allows you to get right really close and pick up, it comes with the shielding on there, so it's already a bit protected. It's just really good for that podcasting, that kind of vlogging vibe as well. Really well out. It's also really, really good for metal vocals. A lot of metal albums are recorded with this one. If you look up a lot of making ofs, a lot of metal bands might put a making of out there. You're very likely to see one of these in the studio, because again, the singer can get right up close to it. They can basically swallow it, and this thing's going to last the distance. It's going to pick up that sound. It's not going to be breaking up. It's not going to be overwhelming it. So probably for the next album, we'll swap out the Heil PR35 for one of these, which will hopefully allow us to get better vocal fidelity while still maintaining a lot of that raw characteristic that goes a long way in grunge. Beyond that, there's not a whole lot to it. I mean, my bass was recorded with an American-made Fender Performer Precision, I believe. Really nice blue. If you've watched the making of endoscopy stuff, you may have seen that bass. It's also in the endoscopy film clip, so that's the bass I recorded the whole album with. Such an amazing sound out of it with very, very little effort. I know I've got my pedals there to really craft my tone, but when you start with a nice tone, you get a better tone out with it. There's a YouTuber that I follow who does a lot of studio stuff, and get it right at the source, which is something that I was working really strongly with when it came to the album. I wanted to ensure that we were recording everything right from the get-go. We were getting the best quality sound at each point in the chain that we possibly could. If you want to make it sound rough, make it sound rough later on. Get the best sound going in that you can. Get the cleanest sound, the strongest sound, the highest level sound. It's a lot easier to turn something down than it is to try and boost it in the mix if it's recorded at a really low level. And just like I said, getting it right at the source, and that's definitely something that I tried to strive for in terms of producing the album. Came through. I mean, the guys are happy with it. The other guys in the band are happy with it. All the feedback I've heard so far has been quite positive, so I think I did a reasonable job for my first album of mixing and mastering. But it did take us a long time to get to this point. You know, I studied music production as far back as 2006. And everything I learned from there I built on, which has kind of culminated in me being able to record the album for the guys, which, as I said before, it enabled us to save a lot of money rather than having to pay thousands to go into a studio. As a band, I just paid thousands for all the equipment and then they did it here for free. But no, but having this set up, you know, it's really helpful because we can record here, we can just plug everything in the system. I mean, we've got, you know, we've got the electric kit there for rehearsals as well, which makes things a lot easier. You know, we can all come in and we can all just set up in here, run through this space. We can rehearse here, we can put down demos here in a snap, and it's a nice size space for recording. You know, a bit warm in summer, but it's fucking Queensland, what are you going to do? And, yeah, so this is the space where we recorded the album. You know, as I said, if you've watched the making of endoscopy series that we had on the channel, then you will see a lot of this room, a lot of the earlier setup that we had. Didn't have all those guitar racks mounted up there. You know, things were a little bit more sparse, but you know, I'm always looking out to improve, always looking for what we can do to prepare for the next time around. And I feel like the range of what we've got to work with next time, it might almost be too many options, but I guess we'll see when we get there. But the next album is definitely going to be more planned. I will say this first album we did was very, not thrown together, but for some context, like I moved up from Sydney in June of last year. Zach almost immediately, I think even before I moved up, was like, oh, you got this guy Corey, you got to come and check him out, he's really, really good. So we started talking, they showed me some material, we started jamming on some stuff, and it all just kind of went from there. Before we knew it, we were recording everything for the album. We did obviously go back and re-record a few things, tidy some things up. But at the end of the day, again, results speak for themselves, I think. The album's turned out quite nicely. And can't wait to launch it. Really can't wait to get it out to you guys. As I said, if you've been to our shows, you've heard just about every other song on the album. There is one exception, but you know, when you get the album, you'll see that. And you know, we got another single coming out. We're going to be doing My Requiem. That should be coming soon in the lead up to the launch of the album. That'll have a film clip to accompany it. It'll be out on all the usual platforms there. And you know, we'll be able to really get things rolling once we get this first album out. We can start working on the second one. And we already kind of have, really. We've already got a couple of songs together, but yeah. So we're working on that, working towards those shows. We've got the Halloween stream coming up. Technically Devil's Night, but 30th of September. We're going to be doing a live stream of a show. We're going to be playing at a house party, and we're going to try and stream that for you guys. So please keep an eye out for details on that. There is an event page on Facebook for it. I'll probably share it from the Skunkbone page shortly after this stream finishes. So do go back there, keep an eye out for that. Sign up for the event to be notified of all the updates on it, and we will get that out and happening for you guys on October the 30th, which is a Saturday night for all you guys playing at home. Then, as I said, we'll have the album launch on November the 14th at King Lear's Throne in Fortitude Valley. Really great venue, so stoked we're on that one. We got Karen from MMK is putting us on that one again. Let me just check who else is playing it. I don't want to leave anybody out. I know for a fact that TaylorMade Rejects is playing it, which, holy fucking shit, stoked to play with those guys. And then there also is... Where's the thing? In addition to TaylorMade Rejects, there is also Kill Pill, Atticus Champs, and Ravindra. So that's going to be a really good show. That's going to be a really, really entertaining show, I think. There's going to be lots of energy, lots of fun had at that one. So we're really going to enjoy that. And yeah, run on down to get yourself a copy of the album. They will be on sale, physical copies, for $15. So yeah, make sure you scoop one of those up and come along, say hi. We will also have the t-shirts with the Skunkbone logo on there. They are $20 each, so don't hesitate to pick one of those up. We could probably cut you a deal if you buy a t-shirt and a CD, because we're pretty rad like that. Yeah, so thank you very much for tuning into this one, guys. Not a long stream today, not a particularly long one, because, you know, we're just kind of doing a quick whip around the studio to show you guys some of the setup that we had here, give you guys a bit of context and info about that, and thank you for listening to my ramblings. But yeah, I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their Saturday night, and yeah, keep looking after yourselves, guys. Let's do what we've got to do so that we can get out of this whole fucking mess we're in at the moment and get back to even more live shows with bigger crowds and everyone just not having to worry about masks and having a good old time. So yeah, alright guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you guys later. Bye.